Oh my goodness, I am super excited on tonight. I'm so overjoyed because you have reached Mindset to Millions. Yes, 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 yes. And I have a really special guest on tonight, someone who means so much to me, and hands down, she's one of the best attorneys that I know. So get ready for a great night. Buckle your seats. I'm going to introduce a wonderful guest who's going to share a wealth of knowledge. But before I do that, I want to remind you who we are and what we are about. So proud to be part of this platform with Mega Source Entertainment. Yes, yes, yes. And my goal, Dr. Tammie Harris here, is to empower, to drop knowledge, to share tools. That's right. I want you to live your best life. And in order to do that, I'm going to be bringing on guests. It's going to be talking about how to have a healthy mindset for millions in different arenas of your life. And tonight, Joy Simmons is coming forward. She's going to tell you her real legal name, but she's coming forward and she's going to share some good nuggets with us. You know, it's so many things I can say about her, and I'm going to properly introduce her. But before I do that, I want her to come on and introduce herself.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Tammy, so much for the invitation and for having me on this platform tonight. It is such an honor and a privilege, and I'm looking forward to having a great time with you. You have done some amazing things in life, and you are just soaring into excellence. And to the audience, I'm sure if you're a part of this regular audience of Tammy's, that you're growing and that you're learning. And she truly, I want to say this, is an example of being one that has the mindset to millions. So this is the right platform. You're in the right place. Now, let me do what she told me to do. My real name is Garistine. That's my legal name, Garistine Simmons. Gary and Christine put together, named by my parents, but I go by Joy because that's the nickname that they gave me. I won't tell you that story right now. That's a wonderful story, but my sister, who's probably watching, she's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, she's telling that story." So I will not tell that tonight. But I am from Fayetteville, North Carolina. That is where I live now. I actually wear several hats. One of those is I am an attorney. I'm also an accountant, and I'm also an executive pastor at the church that was founded by my husband and myself. And so those are kind of like my professional hats. And what I am excited to talk to you about is the business concepts that we're going to deal with, where both the law and the accounting, where they intersect, mostly on the law, and we're going to be talking about, but a lot of the accounting side intersects and how we can stay straight. That is a passion that I have, so I love talking about that. In somewhere doing this lifetime of mine, I also taught in the university system, right? So I've taught a lot of accounting classes and a lot of business law classes. So that's really my background.
Oh my goodness. Joy Simmons, what have you not done? What have you not done, lady?
Um, I haven't seen the pyramids.
I
Bucket
love it.
my bucket list.
I love it. I love it. And I do want to add this. Joy and I actually I took my first trip to Africa with Joy Simmons. And I tell you what, my life has not been the same. And of course, I'm headed back there and just super excited to be connecting with powerful people who are interested in global and international opportunities to help people get to their next. So, Joy, I do want to add this in now. It does have something to do with business structure, infrastructure, and things of that nature. But tell people what you and your ministry did in South Africa, in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Oh wow! So we, as many of you all know, because those of you who have been watching Mindset to Millions, y'all had the opportunity to meet Dr. Patricia Bailey a couple of weeks ago, and
Mhm.
so she is our connection, the one who has opened up these doors of opportunity for us in South Africa, and we got the opportunity to, in particular, one project that my church faith consulate is doing. We're setting up centers for technology learning and development. And we have 3 now. We're getting ready to open up another one that's going to be in Liberia. And I have to make this connection with someone who wants us to do a similar thing in Zimbabwe. But the idea here is one of the things that the Bible talks about us doing is turning the old waste places. We changed them into the Garden of Eden. So a part of one of the things that Dr. Patricia Bailey's ministry focuses on is going in and doing economic development in different communities. And that's where what I love fits in. And one of the things that my church does, we're all about that. Our mission statement is to reclaim the earth and all of its resources for the kingdom of God. And we believe that God gives us the ability to, He empowers us. We have the blessing on us. And with that blessing, we can go to places that are economically depressed, where people are deprived, where they haven't been exposed to things, where they don't have adequate housing. Hence, you're doing the tiny houses, those types of things. We're able to go in there and help change people's lives. And one of the ways we do that is through bringing technology there. And so so in doing these centers for technology learning and development, one of the major things was bringing computers and laptops into places where they did not have them. And one of the things, Tammie, and I know we're not supposed to be talking about this.
No, this is perfect. This is perfect. We're talking about building your business infrastructure. And one of the things that I've seen you and your ministry do is to give back, and it's impacting and affecting your own infrastructure. So go ahead.
So
you're right on target.
So one of the things that was so amazing, and some of the things we take for granted, is technology, because we have technology at our fingertips. And it's not that technology is not at the fingertips of people in South Africa, but we were in some very deprived communities. And when we opened up that center, because Tammie was right there with us, with the team from my church, she was a part of my team. We took her as our own, and we built that out. She helped us put the laptops on, and then we got ready to train. And wasn't it amazing that, remember, Jolana started trying to teach certain things, and she had to stop and regroup because they didn't know how to turn on the laptop.
Wow.
So she had to readjust and go back and actually say, hey, this is the power button. Now, what is the point in bringing all of that out is one of the things that's key to getting to your wealthy place is is having everything that you need in order to adequately engage in society. And technology is a big part of that. Computers is a big part of that. And if you've never seen a computer, never touched a computer, never turned one on, then how are you going to engage in a society and become prosperous without that being done? So that's one of the things that our church has a passion for. And Patricia Bailey Ministries has opened up that door to help us do that. And then we have some other places where we're going to be doing that as well, in addition to some of the places where she's connected us to, because we want people to be able to have this technology. So how does this fit into our infrastructure? Well, I believe that everything goes back to the Bible. Everything goes back to the Bible. Now, this is not infrastructure, what I'm getting ready to say, but it's a principle that we cannot miss. Okay. That's the power of sowing and reaping. And so what does this do for us? What does this do? When we start giving to programs like this, giving laptops away, building tiny houses, what we're doing is ensuring that the blessing of the Lord is on what we do. Now, we're going to talk about a lot of the concepts that our society says that we should have. And we're going to go into those tonight. But I guarantee you, all of those concepts that we're going to talk about tonight, if they're not built on the solid foundation of Jesus and his principles, what we talking about? What is all this for? So sowing and giving is important, because we can have all the other things that are in place, okay? And we should have them in place. But the first foundation is the word of God, is Jesus. That's where we need to look to. So that's how all this fits in. And as a result of that, we constantly see a flow coming back to us, just a constant flow, a constant flow, a constant flow, more doors opening. I venture to say this door is opening for you, and you have this wonderful platform because Tammie Harris is a sower, y'all. She sows, she is a giver. And I'm not talking about what I've heard, I'm talking about what I know. I know for a couple of reasons. One, because we're friends and I know her heart and I've seen her do it. But I also know it because I do her taxes. So I know that she's a sower.
I love it. You see the energy. The thing I love about Joy is not only it is important to her that people be educated and have the knowledge that they need to build great infrastructures. She goes deeper. You notice how she's been a professor. She's an attorney. She owns a tax franchise. She's a pastor. I mean, like she wear all these hats. But the thing I love about you, Joy, even the energy that you bring to the platform on tonight, you care about God's people. And right in this moment, you started teaching about sowing and reaping, seed time and harvest. So I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a really good question. So explain to us in the same way you were just sharing, explain to us the importance of having a solid legal infrastructure in place for your business.
Okay, um, so you growing up, there was we would hear these different fairy tales, right? And one of them was about where a house was blown down, and he said, "I'll huff and I'll puff to blow your house down." And the house was blown down based on how it was built. Okay, and some of the houses went down immediately. Some couldn't be blown down because of what they were built with. It's the same thing. We find many businesses that look good on the outside, that their infrastructure is not good. So when certain things happen, they implode. What kind of things can happen? Well, one of the things that I deal with a lot that happens is taxes. Taxes take people out, okay? Taxes, a tax liability, not filing taxes on time, or not paying taxes on time. We're going to go back and delve into some of this stuff, but I just wanted just to give you an example of what can take a business out because its infrastructure is not right. The IRS can take a business out, okay? Unpaid taxes, because the next thing you have liens, you have levies, okay, you have garnishments. Those things affect your cash flow, and if you don't have cash flow, you have a problem running your business. So that's something that will, when your structure is not right, what else could impact you? A lawsuit very easily impact you and take you out. A slip and fall, somebody sues you. Okay, well, what could have prevented that? At least it taking you out, not so much the slip and fall, but from it impacting you is one, um, insurance, properly being insured. Because a lot of times we just go into business and haven't even thought about insurance taking up some of the space that uh, insurance being there available for us in the event that something happens. So just not being properly insured can cause you to lose your company. Not having the right form of business structure, whether it's a limited liability company, a corporation, an S corp, whatever, those things can at least limit the liability to your personal assets. So a business can go under, but that doesn't mean that you personally have to go under. These are some things that we have to look at when we start talking about legal structure. Those are just three very quick off the top of my head examples of why it is important that you have the right foundation for your business. And then we're going to build up to, more of some of those things that are considered infrastructure. Now,
That is awesome.
if I may, I know we were sometimes in our discussion today, we were talking about foundation and everything. And one of the examples that I was share with Tammie. You know, I already talked about the fable. You know, he huffed and he puffed till he blew the house down. The foundation of anything is the most important, the foundation. And Tammie is a real estate guru, okay? And she's sold millions of dollars in houses. She's a contractor now, doing all kinds of great things with building. But anytime you go and you either start new construction or you build a new building, or even if you sell an existing home or existing structure, when you have that home inspection done, one of the things the home inspector does is they go and check out the foundation of that house. Okay. If it's on a crawl space, they're actually going up under the crawl space. Nowadays, they may not have to actually physically go under because they send in cameras and everything else. But the point is, they have to check out that foundation. If you are building a building, the first thing that they lay is the foundation. They don't go start throwing up 2x4s. They don't go and start putting up bricks or bricks or cinder block or whatever it is. The first thing that they do is build a foundation, because the foundation is the key to holding up that structure. Okay.
Hold that right there. Hold that right there. I want people to really hear what you are saying. The name of your program is what, Joy?
Be Fit. It's called Be Fit: Business, Foundation, Infrastructure, and Taxation. Business,
Wow.
foundation, infrastructure, and taxation. Be fit. And what it is we need our businesses or our ministries, even when we talk about ministry, okay, for all of those of you all who may have ministries or nonprofit organizations, those organizations still do business. So you have to be business fit. You have to be business fit. What does that mean? That your business has to have the right foundation, it has to have the right infrastructure, and its taxes need to be taken care of. So that's the program.
And I wanted to come back to that so that you would mention the couple of things that you just said to help give people a perspective in what you're talking about as it relates to that house and that foundation. So pick back up from there.
Okay, so when you're looking at this house or this house or this building, the first thing that you're laying is the foundation. Whether that's a concrete slab, okay, or whether you are digging down to put in a basement or having a crawl space, the first thing is that foundation. If you're in the city and they're building tall buildings, tall skyscrapers, they go deep in the ground to build that foundation. The deeper they go into the ground to build the foundation, the taller the building can be. If the foundation is shallow, the building can only be so tall. Why? Because that foundation is the key to making sure the building stands. Okay, that's why you can have these tall skyscrapers when winds and things come and they're swaying and they're going back and forth. That's why they don't fall. Now, I'm gonna get out of this talking about these buildings because that is not my area. Okay, I know just enough to use it as an example. I know that a house and a building, that the foundation is key, and you really want to go check that out. You really do. You want to go see what that looks like. Even, we had some work done at a house here recently, and what it in downstairs in our house, that part they had to break part of our house is on crawl space and other part is on a slab, that basement part, right? The downstairs part. And so they had to do some work. The first thing they had to do in order to do the work was break up that concrete foundation so they could go in the ground and do something. But I want you to know that once they finished the work, they just didn't put everything back on top of it. No, they re-poured that foundation. They re-poured. So that foundation, even if there's a crack in it, you got to fix it. Even if you go and open it up to take care of something else, you got to go back and fix it. So the same way you're going to do that with the house, you have to do that with your business. And a lot of times we don't understand that that is the most important part. Let me tell you why I say that. One of the things that I see in what I do, whether that's on the legal side, practicing law, or whether that's on the accounting side, where I'm helping somebody get their financial statements together and doing their taxes, is that a lot of times we have these wonderful, wonderful business ideas, and they are wonderful, but that's all we know about is this wonderful business idea. Whether that's I want to go sell real estate, whether that's I want to be a therapist and I'm getting ready to go counsel people, whether that's I'm going to open up a restaurant because I cook good and I want to share this good food with somebody, whether that's I have this store that I want to be selling these particular items because there's a market for it, whether that's I am getting ready to build websites for people, whatever it is, whatever the idea is that we may have, we get so caught up in the idea that we want to do. And we should be passionate about it. And all we know is I have this idea, and my friends and my family say, hey, you got this good idea. You should go and you should sell this. You could do well in business. And they're encouraging you to do it and do it. And the next thing you know, you out selling that service or selling that product. And you're bringing in some money a little bit at a time. And you haven't thought anything about your foundation. You just selling. So it's like you just ran out there and started putting up 2x4s because you had this idea about this house. You can see this house, you know? We have all these shows. You got HGTV, which I watch a whole lot of. You got all of these different pictures and things, and you can see the house that you want. But how many of us spend time when we start thinking about that house that we want, thinking about the foundation? You ain't thinking about the foundation. You think about how many rooms, how many bedrooms you want, how many bathrooms you want, what you want that kitchen to look like. Do you want open concept or traditional? You think about all of those things about your house. You may even think about the windows, because I like a lot of windows. Some people don't want windows. You're thinking about what you want in the bathroom, how big you want that closet to be. You're even thinking about what you want outside, a swimming pool or a fire pit or whatever, that jacuzzi tub. But you did not think about what you wanted that foundation of that house to look like. Didn't think about it. I'm sure
Well, let me
most.
ask you this. I got to pause you. Let me ask you
Okay.
this. So, what about that person who didn't think about it, who built the house and built the business, but instead of being a LLC, they're sole proprietor. Instead of getting an S corp like how you taught me, they didn't do that, and they're paying themselves under the table. Where do they go back to start at now? That's what we want to hear about.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. So what happens is you realize you realize now after listening to me that some stuff is wrong. So you go and you find that professional that's going to help you get it right. You just don't keep, because you know that if I keep this up, that whole house is going to implode. And that's the thing. At some point, a wind is going to come by, a storm, a hurricane, something like that is going to happen, and it will cause this house to crumble or shake. Same thing in the business. So we're going to go find that professional, and that professional is going to assess where your business is going to assess what the holes are, what the cracks are, what needs to be filled. The same way you would bring a professional in, you wouldn't just start doing stuff at your house. You're going to do what's necessary. You're going to bring in a contractor, right? And you're going to have that contractor tell you, this is the floor that needs to be laid. This is what needs to be done here. This is what needs to be done there. And they're going to give you a systematic plan of how they're going to make sure your house structure is. That's the same thing you're going to do with your business. Okay, you're going to say, hey, I was really excited when I did this thing. I just started it. But she's right. I never ever thought about, is my structure right? Or let me tell you the other thing that happens. We may have thought about the structure, but a lot of times we have learned because we got bits and pieces of information. We saw somebody post something on Facebook. We saw something on TikTok, but that wasn't complete information. It was enough to say, hey, I need to think about this. but you have to be careful about saying, I need XYZ based on what you saw. And the reason why that's so important is because people don't get all of the information by just looking at these posts, and everybody's situation is different. So, like you just said, I told you I wanted you to have an S corp. I don't need everybody to run out and say, "Oh, Tammie is an LLC and she's an S corp. I need to do that." No, no, no. You have to assess where you are in your business journey to make sure that at this point in time, that's the best decision for you. Because a lot of times what we do is we do what we heard somebody else did, and then we think that we should do that. The problem is with that is, one, it may not be the best thing for you based on where you're going, based on your industry, based on your long-term goals. Um, that's one issue. But the other thing is sometimes we get a piece of the information and we don't know how to um, make sure that we're in compliance. So let me give you an
Got it.
example. Let me give you an example. Everybody these days, they're treating LLC like it's almost like it's a buzzword. Oh, I got my LLC. Oh, I got my LLC. So people are getting LLCs, and then the LLC will get administratively dissolved. Why does it get administratively dissolved? It gets administratively dissolved because they felt like they needed an LLC. They filed their paperwork with the Secretary of State's office, their articles of organization, to actually bring the LLC into existence. And they thought they were good. They didn't realize that I have to go back every year and file an annual report. Okay. And if they're not filing that annual report every year and it goes on for a period of time, then the Secretary of State can administratively dissolve their LLC. Now you think you have something that doesn't exist. Wherein lies the problem? Well, something happens and you get sued. You think you have an LLC. LLC doesn't exist because it's administratively dissolved and you are exposed to personal liability. And so
Wow.
that's why you need to seek good counsel so that you don't have a piece of the information. Even like right now, you don't, I'm making true statements, but don't listen to this broadcast and think that you understand everything. And sometimes that's what we do. We think, oh, I need to do this. Yes, you should watch out for the things that I'm saying. And in these types of programs, help you know what questions to ask. So I'm going to always advise people to go and hire a professional. Get yourself an accountant, get yourself a lawyer, or get yourself I would say an accountant or a lawyer, but you can get yourself a coach because I've started doing that in this area if you are not in the position to get yourself an accountant or a lawyer. Because I know a lot of times people shy away from them because of the cost that's associated with it. But I need you to know that that's a part of doing business. So the same way you plan to buy your merchandise, you have to plan to pay for the legal services and the accounting services. It is a part of the cost of doing business so that you can actually grow strategically. So to go back and answer your question, what we're going to do is they're going to go and they're going to get some good counsel so that somebody can actually know what it is, what their vision is, because your vision helps to determine what legal structure you should have. Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 20 years? Okay. What is, are you going to stay a mom pop, or are you trying to grow and have many, many offices all over the city, all over the state, all over the country? What is your vision? So your vision is going to determine what type of business entity you're going to be and that infrastructure. Remember, we just said the taller the building, the deeper the foundation, the longer or the wider the building, the wider the foundation. So your vision is going to help determine your foundation, your legal structure, and it's going to help determine the systems that you're going to put into place. Where do you want to go? Am I going to be the only person that works for this? Is it just going to be me? Or do I plan to have a whole lot of employees? Do I plan to offer benefits to these employees? Because benefits packages, that helps to attract people to our business, okay, to want to be
Now,
employees. Go
now,
ahead.
Joy, I gotta ask you this.
Okay.
all of what you're saying, it is so good. It's solid information. But what about people like me that we get excited about the idea, we vision casting, and everything that you're saying sounds good, but it just somewhat can seem overwhelming. Like, do I really have to deal with all of that? And in thinking about that, how can a business effectively, manage the legal risks? I hear you saying get a coach, get an attorney, talk to somebody who know what they're doing. But what if our personality is not that business kind of structured person, and we just feel like I'll get around to that when I can. I'm making a lot of good money right now. What do you say to those people?
I say, I'm so glad you're watching Mindset to Millions, because you have to have a change in mindset. Because as a business owner, you are, so when I bought into the franchise that I'm a part of, they gave us a book to read during Discovery Day. And during this discovery, I'm gonna tell you guys what the book is. And what was interesting is that book was recommended when I was in the MBA program, which was probably maybe 15 years prior to me doing this, getting this franchise. At least 15 years, might even be longer than that if I do the math. So it was interesting when they handed us this book. I'm like, I've seen this book before. I had the book at my house and never read the book. So because I was getting ready to purchase this franchise and they telling us to read this book and I'm getting ready to invest this money in this franchise, I decided to read the book. The book, what it did was it helped here. It helped with mindset. Because what it did is it said, the one thing I got out of that book is you cannot work in your business, you have to work on your business.
Ooh,
Okay?
that's good. Say that one more time.
Don't just work in your business, work on your
Your
business.
business.
And what you're saying is that most people, when they start these businesses off, they are busy working in and not working.
Mm.
The name of the book is the E-Myth Revisited by, I think it's Carl Weber. I think I'll look it up. I should have looked it up before now, and to make sure I get the author right, Gerber. But anyway, I'll
Mm-hmm.
make sure I pull it up real quick before we get off this platform. But it's called the E-Myth Revisited. So what it helped me to do was have a mindset shift, because
Mm.
I went into the business. See, one of the things that I would do things differently when I chose my business, and a lot of people of us do this. My mindset was, I'm going into a business that I can do. So if everybody else decides to leave and they quit or somebody don't show up, it's going to be able to work and function because I can do it. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
this tax franchise, because I said at the end of the day, everybody can go home and I can still function. That's not the right mindset.
Mm.
That's not the mindset of an entrepreneur who plans to grow. That's the mindset of a worker bee. And when you have that mindset, all you've done is created another job for yourself. You're actually just an employee working for yourself. So you have to decide what it is that you want to do in terms of your vision. Really, 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 what is your vision? And it is that vision that is going to drive everything. So you got to spend time with the vision. But
Mm.
after you map that out, you got to take it to a professional and say, hey, this is my vision. Help me structure my business properly so that this vision can be fulfilled. And that's
Mm.
important. One of the things where we don't spend time on is the business plan. Even if you go to the SBA's website, one of the SBA Small Business Administration,
Mm-hmm.
they tell you the first thing that you do is write a business plan. Most people will not write that business plan, but you got to write it. When you write that business plan, it's going to force you to think and start putting things into place. And so that's where I would say, hey, that's where we have to start, start, get your vision together. But after you get your vision, you've got to put the right people in place that help you structure properly your business so that you can actually carry this thing out and see it come into existence. So that starts with the mindset change.
I
Do
love
you
that.
go ahead?
I love that. Yeah, I love that because this is what it's all about, the mindset, the millions. You can make a lot of money, but if your mindset that is not accurate, even in building the right foundation, the same way you made the money, you can lose it. Just one lawsuit. Let's take a look in the chat, Joy. We have a couple of people that are joining us. Amika says, really enjoying the information that is being shared. Joy and her BFIT program is very beneficial, and I amen to that. To those who are looking to start a business, she will ensure that your business gets started on the right foundation. Remember that foundation so that you can make a move forward with intention. So I agree. I agree. Welcome, welcome, welcome those who are in. I see Marla. Listen, if you all have questions, ask questions here. This is a well of resource. One of the things I say about Joy Simmons, if I have a question, anything around my business and I call her, if she can't take my call, she said, I'll follow back up. Let me do some research and I'll get back with you. So I know Marla is a new business owner. She says, this is great information, Joy. Yes, yes, yes. I see Carla's on, of course. She's saying great information as well. Yes, so many people are just super excited about what is happening. I think Amika put that book in the chat as well. So thank you, Amika, for doing that. Hey, Dr. Marcia, good to see you. Coach Rich is on. Treese, great to see you. I just want to take a moment and welcome our guests that are in. We have thousands and thousands of people that are watching, but we have some that actually joined the chat. So we wanted music. We just want to say thank you all for joining in. So now, Joy, back to you. I apologize for the interruption, but I saw this in the chat and I wanted to let you know what the people are thinking, what they're saying. So, how can a business effectively manage legal risks and disputes? So, you've talked about some strategies, having insurance in place, making sure your tax structures are set, and where they need to be and what type of structure you need to have in place and things of that nature. But thinking about managing levels of risk, legal risk, what are some of your thoughts around that?
Okay, so there's several approaches. So one approach definitely is getting your business structure right. Okay. If you start a business and you're operating as a sole proprietorship, and that means you are the only owner of the entity, it's you by yourself, all of your personal assets as well as the business assets are subject to risk if there is any type of liability that occurs. Okay.
Mhm.
If you are a partner in a partnership and it's just a straight partnership, it's basically the same. All of your assets are subject to that risk, okay, a risk of loss. Now, both the business assets and your personal assets. So one of the first things that we do to help manage risk is try to do business in a structure that will help limit your liability to just the business assets in that entity. So that's why we're looking at limited liability companies. That's why we're looking at limited partnerships. In a limited partnership, the risk is limited for the limited partner, not the general partner. That's why we look at corporations. Okay, we have different types of corporations. That's why we are looking at these different structures. You can put things together in hybrids of organizations, joint ventures with different types of entity structures, all about limiting risk. So that's one way. The second way of limiting risk is what we talked about, is insurance. Okay, sometimes we don't think about that, but just getting a good insurance policy. Now, what types of insurance policies do we need? There's general liability insurance that you can have, okay, for your business. There may be business insurance, especially if you have like office space or retail space. You want to make sure you have that kind of insurance in case somebody gets hurt on the premises. You have the ability to cover that. Let me tell you something else about insurance. When you do that, one of the things you might want to get is, and I'm not look, I don't have a property insurance license. I'm trying to pick my words very carefully because I actually
Mhm.
have a life insurance license. Isn't that something? But I don't have a property and casualty insurance license. um, but if I'm not mistaken, there is a clause where you can get in your insurance policy that will cover lost profits. Okay,
Mm.
helps you to limit what risk. And things like that for if the business has to shut down, those types of things. You know, you have a coverage of lost profits. Um, in my world, we call it malpractice insurance. As
Mhm.
lawyers and accountants, doctors, we call it malpractice insurance. Some people call it professional liability insurance, depending on what your profession is. But that type of insurance helps to cover you in the event that you are sued because the advice that you gave or some of the work that you did was bad and the client sued you and you are actually found at fault. So having a professional liability insurance is important. Workers' compensation insurance is important. You've got employees, okay? Employee gets hurt on the job. You need to have what? Workers' compensation insurance. Workers' compensation insurance is required here in North Carolina. I think it's if you have more than 3 employees. So insurance should be a big part
Mm.
of your ability to limit your liability or to protect yourself. Something else that can help you with your exposure, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, but joining the professional organizations in your
Mm.
now you might say, well, how does that limit your exposure? Because if you go to the meetings and they have education and training, you're learning some things of what to do and what not to do. Learning best practices and actually implementing the best practices in your area can help you limit your exposure. Now, you can't just learn about it and then not do it, but you got to learn and then turn around and implement it. Um,
Mhm.
Today, technology breaches in technology is a big deal, and that can cause you to have high exposure. So what kind of systems do you have in place, and do you have the proper uh, um, security, web security in place, cyber security? Is that in place right? Because if that's not in place, you could be have high exposure. Um, there is insurance even that you can get for, I think it's cyber terrorism insurance or cyber security insurance.
Mhm.
Um, so I can't call all these terms in terms of the insurance. I do, but what I'm talking about, I have them. Okay, so maybe I need to look at the policy and tell you what they are. But an insurance person would even be good for business owners in this particular platform to help us understand that is something that we can use to help limit liability. And a lot of times we don't want to pay the premiums for it because we feel like, man, I need to put this money someplace else. But that's another cost of doing business, paying the premium for some of these insurances. But back to, I was saying, joining the professional organizations. Go to the
Mhm.
professional organization, go to the meetings. Now, don't join the type, well, you can join the type that's a club, but you want to do something more than just join one that's more, a club, we getting together, we having fun, and we hobnobbing and, that
We're
type.
having a party.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine and well, but you also want to be a part of those that have substance. And when I say substance for your particular industry, the ones that are going to bring on experts and they're going to do seminars and workshops on that are in your area to help you know how things are changing, how the laws have changed, how I may need to shift. That's another way of limiting exposure. So you cannot operate any business in a vacuum. It can't be just
Mhm.
your customers.
Mhm.
Okay. It's got to be more than just you and your customers and your clients. So get out there and get involved. Go to the meetings in your industry, in your area. Have relationships with people. Bounce ideas off of one another. Those types of things help you limit liability as well.
Mhm. This is so good. So good, so good. One of the things that I've learned over the years with you being my coach, Joy is my business coach. She works with me in my taxes. She worked with me in my business and she's taught me how to scale. I want Joy you to talk to some of the people out here. I know it's some realtors on. I know I see, we got physicians on that does coaching. We have so many different people that are doing different things. But let's talk a little bit. Let's pause for a moment and talk a little bit about the value of scaling your business. You and I, when I started working with you, I was focused more on real estate. And I began to evolve, and I still do real estate. But then I started speaking, and then I started coaching, and then I started writing books. And now I have this radio/talk show because you all can see us, and so many other things. And then the Kayla J Foundation, and then I went to Africa, and now I'm doing mission trip. Talk to people who are interested. Like I'm hearing people saying, I want to have, multiple streams of income. And we think that's great, right? But you taught me the value of if you're going to scale your business, make sure it flows in your passion, flows in your vision. You have a mindset to do what it is that you're doing so you can do it with a spirit of excellence. Talk to us a little bit about the value of scaling, what it is that you do.
So, as you were talking, one of the things that comes to mind is the saying, all business ain't good business. So you really, really have to pray and make sure first that the opportunities that are coming to you are in your purpose. Okay, because people who are go-getters, who are entrepreneurs, and especially if you're successful, you'll start finding lots and lots of opportunities come knocking at your door. And so the first thing you have to do is be so focused on who you are and your purpose that you won't grab every single opportunity that comes your way. I think that's the first thing in scaling. Make sure that this is the opportunity that you are supposed to take. Some opportunities are wonderful, but they're just not wonderful for you. They're wonderful for somebody else. And I think that's the first thing. Let's identify what's appropriate, what fits in our vision, what fits in our overall purpose. Then once we do that, let's look and see how does this thing, I've decided I want to take this opportunity, I want to grow in this area. How does it fit with everything else that I'm doing? Okay, well, first thing, if you don't have your foundation and infrastructure in the first business straight, don't start something else. Okay, let's get the first one. Let's get the first one straight. Excuse me.
This is good stuff. Good stuff.
Let's get the first one straight. Okay, then once we have that one proper, let's see how does this new one actually fit? Does it fit into what I'm doing now? Does it complement it? If it complements it, can I add this to the current organization? Okay. If it doesn't complement it, is this something that I need to start a completely different entity for? If I need to start a completely different entity for it, do I have the mindset and the time and or the people in place to help me run two separate organizations? Okay. So that's kind of where you're starting. Um, um, Even if with scaling, there's so many different ways to scale. You can scale by just expanding your services within the area that you're doing, or you can scale by doing something completely different. So there's multiple ways to scale. But when you start looking at it, you got to decide, how do you want to scale? And then based on how you want to scale, that will help you know whether I'm going to do it with the business structure that I have now, or do I need to start something new? I want to say this. When you look at this, when you started talking about your Kayla J Foundation, that's a no-brainer. That's a different entity structure, okay? Because you are not going to mix a nonprofit with a for-profit, not the way we were doing it here in her instance, okay? And let me say this, a lot of nonprofits decide that they want to do for-profit things. Well, there's a way for a nonprofit to do for-profit things. That's beyond the scope of this conversation, but there's a way to actually do it. That's you just can't just do it, because if you do it and you don't have do it responsibly, you could destroy your nonprofit status. Okay, so you have to do it responsibly, and that's where you want to seek advice and good counsel in order to be able to do it. But one of the things you're going to do is look at how you want to scale. In terms of a scale, you want to look at your different business entities. That's one of the things that you want to do. Think about that. When you're talking about scaling, um, one of the things, get good advice that is not only legal advice, but when you get ready to scale, talk to your accountant because you want your accountant to run the numbers. Okay, that's important. We have these ideas that sometimes they sound good, but on financially, they're not good. So whenever you get ready to scale, you want to do some projections, you want to sit down with your accountant and you want to run the numbers. The numbers may say, this is a bad idea, don't ever do this. Or the numbers may say, this is a good idea, but it's not going to be profitable for another 3 to 4 years. And so my current business needs to be able to support this one till this one actually starts making money. So see the mindset or the thought process behind this. Well, you can't focus that way if you're working in your business every day. So I want to go back to something that we talked about earlier when you said, what would I say to the business owner, the entrepreneur who is just so gun-ho about what it is they're doing? You need to set aside at least one day every week where you work on your business, where your focus is what we're talking about. You got to set that aside. You got to sit down, set aside some time to think, to pray, and then to write down these thoughts. You need to have regular meeting with your attorney and your accountant. You might want to have, depending on the size of your business, you might have monthly meetings, you might have quarterly meetings, depending on what it is you want to do and how solid your structure is. But these are you want to have in place. So you got to look at it, you need to be looking at it all of the time. If you are not a numbers person and you say, this stuff, it doesn't make sense to me, that's not acceptable. You have to take a class and have some and learn enough, okay, to read your financial statements. Okay. I'm not saying you got to put them together, but you need to understand your numbers. You need to understand, okay, because they have an impact. So take a class, get some coaching, get some training, because that's important, because then you're gonna, in addition to God's guidance, you are also going to manage your business by looking at the numbers. It's going to help you make some decisions, right? So that's important.
Absolutely.
And if you decide, hey, in expanding, you might need some financing. Okay. Well, if you're going to get financing, whether it's a loan from a bank or whether you're going to get an investor to invest some money, they want to know that this business is sound. So they're going to want to know, the bank is going to want to see your financial statements. They want to, not just your tax returns, they want the financial statements and the tax returns, okay? They will want to see a business plan. An investor is definitely going to want to see your business plan. The investor is going to want to see financial statements. They want to see how sound are you? What is your vision like? So those are, because you need capital. Expanding requires capital. Okay.
Joy, let me ask you this. We got some comments in the chat, so we don't want to leave the people hanging out there. But you're doing an excellent job and you're sharing so much information. Carla, of course, says she agrees with you. Purpose alignment with your business is critical. So you have people out here saying yes, yes, yes. Yes, Amika echoes Carla's comment. Wisdom it's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right thing. One of the things one of my coaches just said to me 2 weeks ago, Tammie, I want you to focus on the very best things, the great things, not the good things, but focus on the great things. So Amika says the right thing and knowing your purpose is important. And then there was a question, how do you find people to help your business that share and care about your vision? I got another question after this one, Joy, but I want you to answer this question, but I got another one. How do you find the right people to help your business that share and care about your vision?
Wow, very carefully. That's a loaded question. It really is loaded. Um, because you can oftentimes find people who have the skill set and the knowledge base, but you are just another number, just another client, and they don't necessarily care, like you said, about your long-term development. And on the other hand, you can find somebody who really cares about your long-term growth and development, but doesn't have the skill set. Um, so you have to move very, very carefully. I think one of the ways to do it is a lot of networking, talking to other people who are satisfied with their advisors, with their business advisors. Um, I think that's the best way is networking, um, and looking at their outcomes, to see how effective that person has been for them. I really think networking is probably the best way to do it. You can look online and you can look at the look to see what area that person practices in, and that's both legally and from an accounting perspective, and from an insurance perspective, see what it is they do, and they may offer the products and everything that you want, and they could be great, but like you see, you don't know until you actually start to work with them. So if there's not anybody in your area, I guess you just start doing a good search, looking, and then
Awesome.
go and set up some consultations. It's going to cost you some money. You're going to have to pay that consultation fee. Go in there with the list of questions at the consultation, ask your questions, and be prayerful and ask the Holy Spirit to tell you which one should be your advisor, who should be.
Amen. Amen. This is good. This is good. We only have 5 minutes, Joy. Someone text me a question. And the question is, in thinking about business debt and personal debt, they have been taught through some Christian programs that it's not good to have debt. But recently, they've been in some coaching programs that explain that business debt is different from personal debt. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? But give yourself some time. We got 5 minutes. I want you to talk about how the people can get in contact with you. But can you answer that?
Yeah. So, um, I am first and foremost a born again believer, and I believe that Bible is right. Okay. Now, the Bible does not say that you don't have to have debt. Debt is a sin. It does not say debt is a sin. However, it does let you know that the borrower is servant to the lender. That's there. Okay. That's regardless of whether it's personal debt or business debt. Okay. I personally want to function with as little debt as possible. And it's because the borrower is servant to the lender, whether it's business debt or personal debt. So when somebody tells you that debt is good or that debt is bad, I personally believe it's based on their personal belief system. So I'm not going to tell you that business debt is good. I'm not going to tell you that business debt is bad. Okay. Um, if I have to carry debt, the debt that I'm going to carry is going to be the business debt and not the personal debt. That's the best way I can say it. I don't want no personal debt, but at least
Right.
with business debt, I can tie that business debt. This is why they're saying that I can tie that business debt back to that income. And if that business debt is inside that entity, and I got to be very, very careful about how I say that. if I do business right and do it well, that business debt won't touch me personally. And I have to be very careful about how I say that, because that's not, because no, there's no foolproof entity that can just always say your personal assets are not going to be touched. And that's a legal concept beyond the scope of this discussion. Okay. So, but if you're going to carry debt, the debt to carry is going to be business debt. The reason why I'm very careful about that is because I've had business debt that put a stranglehold on me. Okay. And I'm talking personally. So you have to be careful about carrying business debt, because if you carry too much business debt and it puts a stranglehold on you, what it does, it can affect your cash flow, because you've got those that are rolling up, okay? And if you've got employees and all these other expenses to pay, you got that to pay plus this debt, that can affect your ability to move. And for me personally, it affected my ability to think. It stressed me out, and I wasn't as good as a person. So my personal thing is stay away from all debt. Okay.
Okay, very good. We're almost at the end, Joy. We want you to tell them how to reach out to you. This is so good. And you see this lady have wealth on top of wealth of knowledge. And so I put some links in for you to be able to reach out to her. Tell them, Joy, in the next minute or so, about your consultation. You have a great program for this program tonight. You're giving 50% off to do what?
Off a BFIT assessment, Business Foundation Infrastructure and Taxation Assessment. So basically, if you sign up for that, we'll take 45 minutes and kind of talk about your business structure. We'll look at your foundation of your business. We'll look at your infrastructure, all these things that we've been talking about, your taxes, kind of do a little bit of an assessment to see where you are. And so I'm offering that for 24 hours at a 50% off. That's the
And this is awesome, because that's how I got connected to her. I needed the discount, and even the price was still minimal. But reach out to Joy. What is your website, Joy?
Okay, so you can go to my law website, which is davidsimmons.law, or you can go to my coaching website. Coaching website is b dash fit dot, I'm sorry, b-fitcoach.com. B-fit
And I put it in the chat. I think I put it in the chat. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. We're ahead of time. When it's 9 o'clock, Joy, it's 9 o'clock. We got to get off. But thank you. Yes, I had a ball. Thank you for joining. All that have joined in, thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Joy, until we meet again, I tell you what, keep winning, and I'll see you at the top. Thanks again, and thank you to everyone who joined us. Joy.
Bye-bye.
Blessings. Bye now.